I'm back. I'm looking like a total scumbag today. I hate having to wear a hat. I got my glasses on because my last pair of contacts. I was on my last pair. My prescription was expired. I blinked it out and lost it. And now, Lord knows when my next set of contacts is going to come in. I had to do that appointment, all that to get a new prescription. What a pain. It looked terrible. But I couldn't tame my hair after a shower this morning, so it looks pretty terrible too. But today's video, I'm going to talk. I've been gone for a while. I'm going to get this pen out of the way. I'm going to talk about a topic that I think it seems really basic, and I don't think it's anything revolutionary or unusual um, to talk about. I just haven't really heard anybody discuss it before when they're talking about selling or buying on TCGPlayer. And I'm going to be specific to TCGPlayer in this video. I've experimented a little bit with selling on eBay under my primary account, the one I usually will buy stuff on, like it's an account that doesn't really have a lot of activity on it. I'm not much of an eBay guy, but I'm just going to discuss a little bit about why I buy collections and what I do to try to make them profitable. So I bought two collections recently that I won't be able to get online, won't be able to get for sale for quite a while. And some of those are going to be eBay sales because they're vintage hollows. They have certain swirl patterns, where the holographic sheet was split, so you have like this pokeball pattern almost on the cards. There's two of those with that. There's also some graded cards that need to be cut out because of the slab, because the cards themselves, I looked them over really well inside the slab. The cards look really good. It's just he sent them to old CGC. So even though it came back, a lot of them came back between like a 6 and an 8.5. The CGC blue label, I mean, that was a very tough grading process. And it was not very lenient. So these cards look really good. I mean, these are near mint cards, and they could be sold as near mint raws. They just need to be freed from their plastic shell. And there's actually a card show going on literally to my left at that building. I forgot what's going on today. I was like, what the hell are all these cars here? But something that I want to discuss, the main point of the topic is going to be time to return. So your time to return on your cash out. When you buy a collection, that is a cash out event. You are purchasing inventory to list for money out. So on those two collections, they weren't huge. I think technically they were top three or four in terms of cash out combined. I think that day I spent right at around 1,300, maybe 12. I think it was 1225 actually combined. It was 912 and 275. So what is that? I don't know. I feel like I'm just not mathing here right now because I'm driving. It's what's it? 987 plus 200. So okay, that sells that. So it's a 1187, 1,200 bucks. So they were solid. One was interesting. It's a guy that owns a brick and mortar card shop. He was in town to do a card show, a different one than that, a bigger one. And he wanted to offload some more inventory before he drove all the way back home. So we met up real quick. Some stuff was pretty rough condition wise. I mean, a lot of the older stuff that he had was not exactly near mint. I mean, it was between LP and MP, a couple HPs on bigger cards. Um, like Lugia V and things like that. The alternate art, of course, the one that everybody wants, the good looking one. Even though I think the Lugia V actually just looks pretty good in general. But, so he let me pick and choose from that. So my inventory is missing a lot of things like Gengars, Charizards, Pikachus, Dragonite, the popular Pokemon that everybody wants. I don't really have a lot of those in inventory. Because when I get them, I list them, they sell, they're gone. But the people's collections consist of so much more than just the popular cards. I'm buying. People don't sell the popular cards to people like me. They sell them to people they know that will pay more for them or trade higher for them. Usually, it's trade for sealed or pay a higher percentage. So I bought all these collections at what was calculated at the time to be exactly 70% on each one. I literally we scanned the cards in, added everything up. Well, the app does that. I took that total times zero point 0.7. That's the amount of cash I gave them. Not a dollar more, not a dollar less. 70%. I usually round up if I like the person. I just didn't do that. We played hard. I was right at 7. So when I got home, I rescanned everything in. I was much more. I had to do it kind of. We had to do it kind of quickly. I was just kind of quick firing on conditions. So some were better conditioned than I had originally said. Some were worse. So all in all, we're at about on those two collections. We're right at around maybe 1900. So 1900 paid 12. That's a good percent. It ended up being slightly better than 70, but I did. I mean, I offered 70 based on what I saw at the time, and the time frame I was given to do the deal in. Everyone always wants to meet outside and do this stuff when it's 95 degrees, feels like 102, and we're in the sun. I mean, I can see the cards pretty well. I just don't really have a lot of time to look at each one, especially in a collection that's 100 cards or so. So 7, 8, and the other one's about 30. It takes a long time to condition these things properly. So I took them home, got them online, redid everything. Didn't just import the list each player and get them home. So if I'm buying at 70, okay, so let's do this. I spent 1200. I can sell for, let's say, 1900. Some are in slabs. I got to crack them out. There's a risk to those. They may get worse condition. So what am I going to list them at? Well, if you want a quick sale in TCGPlayer, you list at market. When you import your list, you can preset your list price in your sheet to market. You can just copy and paste that market number, copy and paste it into your price. Some people like to round up, do that, whatever. That is going to get you a quick sale. I mean, if you buy a collection of 100 cards, you import everything at market, you're going to have 70 of those cards sold within a week or two. And that's a great way to make your bare minimum margin, which would be around between 8 and 10% if you buy at 70, because you're not, again, we're not talking. TCG Player is going to take their 15 or so, but then you still have shipping costs and top loaders, sleeves, envelopes, stamps, all that sort of stuff that does count. A lot of people don't really consider that too much. So you're going to make between 8 and 10% profit at a bare minimum, or at least that should be your bare minimum if you're buying these things properly. So that's if you want to just churn and burn that money. You got 1,200, you spend it. You want to make 120 within 2 weeks. Did not include the time it takes TCG Player to actually get around to paying you, which can be a while. Then you're just churning and burning inventory. Period. That's the goal, and that's what you want to do, and that's how you're going to do it. I and a lot of other people that list don't have to worry about the churn and burn too much. I mean, we like to keep inventory moving because we like to onboard more stuff. But to do that, we typically free up capital, other collections that we purchased already. But that said, there's a lot of ways to do that. To keep inventory decent and also not just fire sell everything at exactly market price, especially on some stuff that doesn't have a lot of listings. You may not really want to do that. I mean, you can actually sell it pretty quickly. You'll be the first in line. Whoever's at market or below is going to be first in line to get purchased. So, it got totally dark. I'm in an overpass. So, oh wow, this car finally passed me. I'm stuck behind a car going 18 miles an hour in a 45. So, okay, sorry, I'm losing. So, what I and a lot of other people do is we list at a percentage above market, and it's not uncommon. I don't have to move inventory super quickly. If I have more expensive cards, I'll usually list those closer to market. If I get a $200 to $400 card, I kind of just want to move it because that's a good chunk of the. Usually, that's a good chunk of the collection cost that's going to come back to me. I mean, I bought some quote unquote collections. I made some purchases where the number of cards is maybe 20 or 30, but one of the cards was, you know, 30 or 40% of the total cost. So, and you have a larger profit margin with those. So if I buy a card for 400 in a collection that I paid 800 for, that's 50%. I didn't pay that. I paid closer to 300. I sell it after fees and make about 350, 360. I'm ready to that's a good chunk of that. That's about half of what I paid for the collection right back. So I've recouped about 50% of my costs. And that's good. That's what a lot of people try to do. The rest of that cost you can have on the back burner. So what I usually do is I will list things at between 10 and 40% over market. Now 40 is a little bit extreme, so it's kind of a sliding scale. If you have a higher end card, you can't do 40% above market, but 10 is a little bit safer, especially if it seems like it's on the rise and it's going to go back up or go up, which doesn't always happen. Sometimes you'll sit on it for a while. That's why you have to keep an eye on your inventory, see what the trends are, and if things are moving downward or upward, do you want to adjust your price? Do you want to hold firm? Um, and all that. If it's a mid-grade card between $2 and $10, yeah, I'm going to go up between 20 and 30% most likely. So if it's an illustration rare and they're selling for $5 right now, I have a pretty decent confidence that it will sell for $6.50 to $7 soon. But I bought that card at 70% of $5. I do want to widen some of those profit margins when you can. And that's not being a greedy asshole. That's just the reality of the market. It's going to go up at some point eventually, just like at some point it's going to go down. Someone's going to take advantage of me one day and get me to buy a collection of cards that they looked into that are trending downward. And eventually the whole fucking Pokemon market is going to trend downward, just like every other TCG. It is going to happen. And sellers like us who I'm a bit of a weirdo. I do both. When I get a personal collection, I will pick through it and see what cards I want for my or when I buy a collection, I will dig through it and see what cards I want for my personal collection. And sometimes they're higher end, sometimes they're not. Sometimes I keep a lot of cheaper cards. I love all the the little um, shiny cards from the shiny vaults. I like the V Maxes and V Stars. I think those are so hideous. I love the textured foils. So I will keep a lot of those. And every time I keep one, do I feel super bad about keeping a $2 to $4 card? Not really. I think maybe at some point they'll go up, but it doesn't really matter. Those are the cards I like to look at that are, vintage. Like recently, I just purchased. A friend of mine had a three set of the legendary birds for the A&A promos. He said, "How about 200 for all three? They're all three near mint. Um, they have a good provenance." The guy that bought them literally had like notes, handwritten notes. He's been buying since 2002 online. Handwritten notes about where he got each card from and what he paid for them and all that. It's pretty crazy. Check them out. They're real. Love them. I've wanted them for a long time. 200 for a set's a great deal. I could not turn that down. And like I sell those, probably not. I've wanted those for a long time. I saw those in a magazine when I was a kid. I've wanted them ever since then. I never sought them out. I don't like buying cards online for myself a lot. That's why when I get a card I like in a collection, I will usually just keep it because I prefer not to purchase cards online for myself because I do like to look at the condition and see what's going on. I don't really ever plan on grading anything, but I like to check everything out and make sure that it's a good looking card for me. And that's usually around the LP to near mint. I'm not. I love mod play, heavy play. I have a lot of Gardevoir EXs, basically or GX. It's basically the entire. Um, I'm so no, it is the EX. It's EX line. It's Gardevoir EX base, and then the Altar that's really expensive. Or, well, not really, but it's a secret rare, I think. Um, the shiny one, the Radiant Collection one. I have quite a bit of those, and I keep them because they'll sell, but they're in rougher condition. They're in mod heavy play. I have a Sylveon GX Altar, not an expensive card, it's like a $20 promo. But I kept them because I mean someone just straight up spilled their coffee on it, really. So the front of the card looks fine, but the back is brown. So I'm okay with that. It's gonna go in a binder. If someone sees the back of the card, that means they pulled it out. And I didn't ask them to, so they're probably just doing something they shouldn't do anyway. But yeah, so that's how I like to balance, and it is a balance. When you have an inventory of thousands of cards, it's easy to lose track of the stuff. Some people will say they spreadsheet everything. I don't think that's true. I've never seen anybody actually do it. I see people talk about that. I don't think they actually do it. And TCG Player does not make it easy to do that. You cannot pull, to my knowledge, it's difficult to pull a spreadsheet with market prices versus your list price and actually be able to adjust. I know you can do that in the inventory tab or something with your level 4 seller or whatever the case, but they don't make it easy to do that. It's not fun either because you can only see, there's no way to organize the cards. You can do it by game, you can do it by set, I think, but you can't do it by, like, I can't pull up a list of all my highest priced cards and then sort of go from there. So to do that, you just have to keep an eye on what you're actually packing and putting in an envelope. And you'll kind of have a memory for, oh, I got this from this collection, or I got this from this guy, and that sort of stuff. So you have to kind of keep track of all that too. But that's usually what I do. I will, if I buy a collection, my time to return on that money, I don't mind being a little bit slower. Um, I would rather make a slightly higher profit margin because the trade-off for that is also I have to spend less time packing and pulling, or pulling and packing, which is something I just don't have a lot of time to do right now. I haven't really since I've started. Hopefully, will soon. I'd like to really get a move on more. But since I have limited time to pack and pull, that's why I don't mind making a slightly higher margin on each card, uh, and then getting them out. So it's something I hear not a lot of people talk about. I mean, when they talk about listing on TCG Player, they just assume that you're going to hit the market price button or get everything at market price and call it a day. I'm just kind of here to say that I don't think that's a very realistic way to do it unless you want a very short time to return on your money out, which is fine. There's no problem with that. It's not what I want most of the time, and sometimes I do. And I will. I had a whole collection earlier, this 2 months ago or last month, where I wanted that money back pretty quickly so I could work. I could just move on to a different one, and that's what I did. I purchased the collection, and I purchased the collection and listed everything pretty much at market, besides a couple of the SIRs that were trending upwards. I put, 10 or 15% above, and that's usually how I do it. Not always, but that's typically how it's done. And I think so far it's a great way to do it. Now soon I'll be experimenting with eBay sales, and I'm actually pretty excited for that because it's a little bit of a different ball game, but being able to show the photos and be a part of that whole deal sounds like a lot of fun and something I would love to spend more time with. So while I'm gone, I'm going to go on vacation soon. While I'm gone, my plan is to actually front load a lot of eBay listings with different cards. I'm going to take some photos before I leave, categorize everything, and then when I'm gone, just to add a country vacation, I turn the store off and everything. While I'm gone, I'm going to literally create. The plan right now is maybe around 50 eBay listings. I've got some PSA stuff that I would probably rather just auction off. I could crack them and sell as raw. I just don't want to risk damaging the cards. I could even keep them. There's some old vintage, like fossil and stuff that graded really not great, but the cards themselves are really good. So I don't know what I'm gonna do with those yet. But I would like to get some of the weirder cards, Japanese vintage that doesn't do on TCG Player, and get those up on eBay, and just sort of see how that experience goes. I know they allow plain white shipping, plain white envelope shipping now, which is great. If someone buys a card for $4, there's no shot I'm gonna pay $6 for shipping, or even let me rephrase. I don't even want someone else to pay $6 for shipping for that. So that's why I don't sell stuff like that on TCG or on eBay. But I would sell cards over 20 on eBay, and once it's over, I would have TCG Player rules. Once it's over a certain number, I would put it in a bubble mailer, track it, and ship it. Or however the buyer wants to do the shipping. It's up to them. They can pay for it. But I can't wait to play with that a little bit more, and then hopefully later this year, um, I can bring on. I'm talking with the guy right now that has a pretty extensive collection. And what he sent me is around $29,000. Um, that's market, so not what I pay. We're in talks right now, kind of later in the year, maybe taking that on and getting that. That would be something where my time to return would be fairly short because I would want to move a decent chunk of that collection to try to get you know as close to my initial investment back as possible. And then the rest is more flexible. It's like flex money. Once you break even, the rest is flexible. You can decide if you want to fire sell it or not. Just keep going and keep the churn and burn going. But I think as we go into 30th anniversary, it's still going to be pretty normal, par for the course stuff. I'm not expecting huge increases in prices on anything. But once 30th settles and we go into the holidays, there's always that dip around the holidays. I don't know if we'll. I don't think the market's going to recover from that as well and as quickly as it usually does historically. So I'm kind of wanting to do as much as I can before New Year's because around New Year's I will probably be buying a lot of singles and sealed when people do the inevitable selling off. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I know this one was a little bit scattered and I get kind of scatterbrained, but just wanted to give you an idea of how I list things, how I price things, and how that factors into my cash inflow and outflow for the business, quote unquote. I mean, there's a lot of co-mingling still, but just to kind of get so you get an idea of if you start doing this, what does making that money back look like? Well, it kind of depends on if you want a slower time making slightly more, 10, 20% more, list for 10 or 20% more, and expect that it's going to take a while to move that inventory. But I want to sell between 5 to 10 orders a day. And if I can do that, that means my inventory is moving well enough. I have it priced okay, and it's still a little extra profitable for me, which is great because it lets me keep buying things and continuing to sell. So overall, still been fun. A lot of frustrating buyers with the conditioning and people just outright lying, saying I didn't put things in the package when I have a very specific memory of putting those exact cards in there. But other than that, it's all pretty small potatoes. Small taters. But all right, I gotta go get some stuff for the vacay. We still got a little bit of time, but I like to get things done kind of early, so I'm a high A guy. So, till next time.